bangsaku, dengan sejarah yang cemerlang, harumlah namamu. Kolej istimewa didirikan untuk semua, keluar memimpin negara maju terus marah. Bangga ku rasakan, khidmat ku berikan, tak ku lupakan jasa-jasamu, oh Kolej Melayu.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih terutamanya kepada Prof. Dr. Nazari. Thank you for coming, Prof. Apa khabar?
Alhamdulillah, terima kasih.
Alhamdulillah. Okey, alhamdulillah tetamu kita pada malam ini untuk bincangkan nasib rakyat selepas COVID-19. Tidak lain tidak bukan Prof. Dr. Nazari ISMAIL, merupakan Profesor di Jabatan Dasar dan Strategi Perniagaan dan Perakaunan Universiti Malaya, dan juga di sini ada Presiden Makoba, Tuan Presiden TAP kita, dan saya Boon sebagai host anda. Okey, kenalkan sikit Prof Nazari. Selain daripada Profesor di Jabatan Perniagaan di Universiti Malaya, beliau juga merupakan Presiden di dua NGO, Presiden Palestine Progressive Association dan satu grup yang saya bersama dengan beliau adalah di BDS Malaysia, Boycott, Divestment and Sanction. I think beliau banyak passionate, banyak dia forward WhatsApp Palestin daripada sangat dia tak kerja. So macam hari ni dia tengah cakap pasal silam masjid yang tengah boycott dengan Kayla something rap, I pun tak tahu. Tapi that's basically Prof Nazari yang mungkin dia boleh explain sikit. Before we go on dengan nasib rakyat, apa akan jadi dengan post COVID-19, which is I tak tahu sebab kita masih lagi COVID-19, tak keluar lagi nak post, tak tahu bila lagi nak keluar. I'll pass the majlis to Tap to give his opening speech. Over to you, Tap, President.
Thanks, Boon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks, Prof, for gracing our talk tonight. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be tuning in to figure out, there's a lot of misunderstanding of what's going to happen, not misunderstanding of what's happening and what's going to happen after COVID. I think a lot of people are very stressed at the moment, and we have had conversations about lending. You know that a lot of people who have taken borrowings, for instance, are really hard pressed at the moment in trying to meet the payments for sure. Not only for normal things like even rentals and stuff like that, but even though we have the moratorium to a certain extent, ujung-ujungnya kena bayar juga, and some of these things are even going to be extended even to a longer period than what they wanted to do. So mungkin dulu dorang plan mungkin by the age of 50 tak not in debt anymore, but now it's going to be, because of the moratorium, it's going to be extended, by that. And also some even then, some depending on what packages they take, the amount might be even larger than what they've been paying before the COVID. The issues are, how are they going to meet all these things, especially dengan income pun dah lah tak ada kan. Most of the small businesses are already at stress, and some are non-existent anymore. To start back the business and then start paying back and all that sort of stuff. I can understand your rationale pada dulu when we had this conversation about why people should not go in debt and why should you only spend what you have. I think it becomes even more logical now, seeing what's happened in the past 2 years, a year and a half anyway. There's a lot of people not only on personal financing, but the company financing that they have and things like that. So we've had this conversation about living beyond your means and things like that, and living by debt. I suppose a lot of this will come into fore once this goes away, when when things become normal, and suddenly you find yourself in huge debt. Okay? So I think it's going to be an interesting talk, Boon.
Okay.
I'm really happy to have my batchmate, classmate for many years in Malay College to be sharing his views on his. The only reason why he looks older than me is because he's not wearing a songkok. Kalau I buka pun otak juga. So anyway, please, Boon, back to you, and I'll join in the conversation if you need me to.
All right, thank you, President Tab. Okay, probably over to you, Prof. Nazari. So apa nasib rakyat post COVID-19? Mungkin boleh bagikan pencerahan sikit pasal topik kita.
Okay. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulil karim ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Subhanaka la ilma illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Saudara Boon, saudara Tab, terima kasih kerana sudi menyebut saya pada malam ini untuk berbincang tentang isu yang apa akan jadi kepada rakyat selepas COVID-19. Jadi kalau kita perhatikan bahawa bencana yang berlaku pada rakyat ni bukan benda yang baru kan. Banyak bencana berlaku sebelum ini pun. Yelah yang lain tu macam yang on the global scale yang kita tahu pasal Spanish flu, bukan Spanish fly, Spanish flu dan juga Black Plague dan sebagainya. Dan tetapi kemungkinan Spanish flu, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, about 50 million people died. Sekarang ini I think death is a couple of millions already, but not yet 50 million lah, quite a long way. We hope because of the discovery of the vaccine, Insha Allah, it will not go to that high. But I think in terms of economic catastrophe, it's probably the worst in the history of mankind. I think we will wait and see. And one of the reasons why we may not be able to see it straight away is because of the spending packages by government. So government are spending money to reduce the impact. But basically what is happening is you are just postponing the problem. You are just postponing it, and it will come up to other means, and we will see what's going to happen is that there are other things that will take place because of the spending packages by governments. So why is it that I say that the economic implication will be the worst is simply because in the past there is the amount of debt that is present in society is not as high. There was debt before, but not the level that we have now. For example, according to the statistics show that the global debt now is about 280 trillion US. So that's the global debt. 280 trillion, you time by 4, is actually more than 1 quadrillion ringgit. Because if it is 250 trillion US time by 4, then you have 1 quadrillion. But if you have 280 now, time by 4, I don't know. So 1 quadrillion, you know, what is the figure? People don't use this figure anymore. How do you apply the term quadrillion in life? You can only apply it for debt, no? For other things, people don't use it. So what do you use the quadrillion to count? Now, even trillion, we don't really use the trillion to count, except for to count the amount of debt that we have in the society now. In the case of Malaysia now, the household debt is about is more than 1 trillion. Corporate debt is more than 1 trillion also. Public debt depends on how you calculate the public debt. If you add in all the government liabilities, right? For example, MDB, and then also the public sector, civil servants, housing loans, etc. If you add all that, then the public debt is also more than 1 trillion. So altogether, you have more than 3 trillion, maybe up almost 4 trillion debt. So this is a big, huge burden on society, which they will face now and after COVID ends. That is not going to go away.
Okay, Prof, untuk yang those yang watching, terima kasih tengok. Satu benda saya lupa nak cakap pasal Prof tadi, dia ada juga tulis buku. Till Death Do Us Part. I bagi link dalam tu, boleh check the buku dia. Basically, kita sepatutnya till death do us part. Tapi kita bawa hutang kita sampai ke kubur. Itu, that's a Prof Nazari, you can check him out. Ada bagi link. Sorry Prof, okay, go on.
Yeah, I'll continue. So, in the past, it's not that there is the debt didn't exist. It exists, but the level is different. Now, how do you solve the problem when people are in debt and then you want to proceed? Now, the Quran is very clear on this. The verse in the surah Al-Baqarah, wa in kana dhu usratin fa nadhiratun ila maisarah wa antasaddaqu khairul lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. So if people are in trouble, they are in debt to you and they are in trouble, then you should give them time. So this is moratorium lah. Okay, you should give them time. Wa antasaddaqu khairul lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. But if you forgive the debt, it's better for you if you know. So jikalau kamu sedekahkan utang itu pada mereka, itu lebih baik bagi kamu jikalau kamu mengetahui. So that is the Quranic verse, very clear. Revealed to us 1,400 years ago. Because in Islam, debt ni tidak salah. Utang ni tak salah, tidak haram. Kita bahkan, ulama mengatakan bahawa memberi hutang itu pahalanya lebih banyak daripada memberi sedekah. Sebab dulu orang yang minta hutang ni ialah orang yang susah. Jadi bila dia susah, dia minta hutang dengan kita, bermakna dia memang desperate lah. Bila dia desperate, jadi dia targeted. Orang yang susah kita bagi kan, kalau kita sedekah kita bagi, kita macam rambang. Mungkin ada yang tak susah pun dapat. Tapi kalau yang hutang ni dia memang susah, dia desperate, so kita tolong yang desperate. Jadi sebab tu pahalanya ulama kata lebih banyak. Jadi ianya sangat digalakkan. Sebab tu zaman Rasulullah SAW pun ada orang hutang. Rasulullah SAW sendiri pun pernah berhutang. Tetapi apa yang membezakan, kadang-kadang kalau orang ni dia kata dulu pun ada, memang ada, tapi dulu hutang dia daripada orang yang bukan bertujuan untuk mendapat untung. Okay? Bila dia bagi hutang tu, dia bukan untuk mendapat untung. Jadi sebab itu dia dibenarkan, bahkan digalakkan supaya hutang tu dalam bentuk membantu. Jadi bila dia memberi hutang untuk membantu, biasanya kalau kita nak bantu orang, kita tak adalah bagi banyak kan. Kalau kita ada, katakanlah kita ada aset bernilai 1 juta, kita pun ada banyak perbelanjaan kita bagi mungkin beberapa ribu saja kan, kita bagi hutang sebab kita bagi yang surplus, yang kita lebih yang kita bagi hutang. Jadi kalau orang tu berhutang kita, sekarang katakan ada orang datang kat Boon minta hutang, you are not going to give couple of 100,000, right? You are going to give some money, Tapi because you are helping him, because you are giving to help him, you are not charging any interest. Therefore, when he says I'm in trouble, you can afford to say, okay, it's okay. Tak payah-payahlah, tunggu. Lepas tu, antasaddaqu khairul lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. Lepas tu kamu sedekahkan, maknanya tak payah-payahlah. Because it will not affect your balance sheet. Because it's sikit kan. Jadi bila kita bagi hutang tu bagi sikit, jadi kalau kita sedekah pun dia tak kacau kita hidup, kita boleh proceed. Sebab itu ayat tu relevan. Sebab orang yang bagi hutang tu pada zaman dulu, zaman Rasulullah SAW tu, dia bagi hutang sikit je. Tetapi sekarang ini kita ada situasi, apa yang berlaku ialah memberi hutang tu, dia bukannya memberi hutang untuk membantu, dia memberi hutang sebagai satu perniagaan. Ini yang bahaya ni. Bila dia memberi hutang untuk perniagaan, dia suasana dia dah berubah. Macam ni lah saya bagi contoh analogi dia kan. Katakan kita ada restoran. Katakan kita pergi, saya pergi rumah Boon. Boon ajak makan. Okey, jom makan. Makan kuih tiaw ke apa kan. Pergi rumah Tab ke. Tab mungkin bagi lagi hebat lah kot. Nasi rap ke apa kan. Tapi I suspect Tab is not going to charge me any kata jom makan kat rumah dia makan atau pergi mana-mana makan dia belanja kan, dia tak bayarlah. Tapi kalau Tab buka restoran, kalau orang datang dan dia bagi free, tak boleh. Dia boleh bagi derma kat orang, tapi kalau orang datang restoran dia, kena bayar. Kalau kawan dia datang pun dia akan charge. Kita ada kawan seorang nama Geben. Geben dia ada buka cafe coffee shop. Kalau kawan-kawan dia datang, kena bayar tak? Orang faham, bayarlah, dia bisnes dia kan. Jadi kalau pergi rumah dia lain, tapi kalau pergi kat cafe shop dia, kita tahu kita kena bayar sebab itu bisnes dia. Jadi dia tak boleh bagi free. Dia tak boleh bagi free kan? Dia tak boleh bagi. Kalau dia bagi free, dia kena tutup kedai dia. Tak boleh hidup lah kalau orang datang makan kedai, tiap-tiap kawan datang free habis lah. Okey, sekarang dalam aspek hutang ni, sebab tu dia sekarang ini industri hutang, bank, dia tidak boleh beramal dengan ayat ini. Wa antasaddaqu khairul lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. Jikalau kamu sedekahkan hutang itu adalah lebih baik bagi kamu jikalau kamu mengetahui. Ini ayat Quran ni tau. Cuba bawa ayat Quran ni pergi kepada mana-mana bank Islam. Mana-mana bank Islam kata tolong, ni ayat Quran ni. Dia kata kalau kamu sedekahkan hutang ini adalah lebih baik bagi kamu jikalau kamu, mana lebih baik untuk bank Islam. Kalau disedekahkan hutang ni, boleh ke bank Islam beramal dengan ayat ini?
Tak boleh sebab bank Islam dia nak bukan charity dia kata. This is not charity.
Sebab tu kata tadi, dia bagi hutang, bank Islam dia bagi hutang bukan untuk bantu. Dia bagi hutang sebagai bisnes. Kalau dia maafkan hutang itu, habis aset dia kan, asset side or balance sheet dia, sebab asset side dia semua adalah orang hutang pada dia kan, receivables kan. Jadi kalau dia kata dia cancel semua tu, habislah dia aset dia akan jadi bankrupt. Jadi institusi perbankan ini dia tidak boleh beramal dengan ayat ini. Dia tidak boleh ada merciful attitude ni, dia tak boleh ada. Dia bukan design to be merciful. Dalam Islam mengajak kita supaya menjadi orang yang bermurah hati, suka membantu, beneficent, maknanya ramah kan. Ini adalah ciri-ciri Islam. Rahmatul lil alamin, rahmah kepada seluruh alam. Jadi bila Islam datang, dia akan mewujudkan institusi-institusi dan individu dan masyarakat yang mendatangkan rahmah, mendatangkan kasih sayang, dan rahmah kan, sifat membantu dan sebagainya. Ini semua adalah aspek Islam. Dia menggalakkan itu dan dia mempelopori itu, menganjurkan itu. Jadi sebab tu kita nampak masyarakat Islam dia berkembang cepat, orang senang masuk Islam, orang seronok dengan Islam because dia sangat rahmah, rahmah. Tetapi di dalam masyarakat di mana hutang tu dijadikan bisnes, dia tak boleh. Sebab kalau dia mempunyai sifat ramah tadi dan dia memaafkan hutang, dia sendiri akan bungkus. Dia akan tutup, dia akan collapse, sistem kewangan akan jatuh. Jadi sistem kewangan yang kita ada sekarang ini ialah sistem kewangan yang langsung tak boleh beramal dengan sifat rahmah tadi. Dia tak boleh beramal. Dia devoid of any merciful aspect. It's just not part of this. It's it's natural character. Jadi sekarang ini oleh kerana dia tak boleh, ini yang sekarang ini kita ada suasana di mana masyarakat yang terbelenggu ni, dia rasa susah. Jadi dia komplain kepada bank. Dia komplain kepada bank tak bagi moratorium pun dia charge interest juga kan, sebab dia nak profit. They compete against each other. So bank managers, if they are very merciful, you know what happen? Bank managers who are merciful, performance dia akan jatuh kan. The more merciful dia akan jatuh, dia punya KPI dia will not be so good. And he will not be able to show good performance. Okay, alright.
Tapi Prof dia kata dalam argumentnya macam Islam ni kata dia go for the tujuan syariah, maqasid syariah dia kata lagi banyak. Yang dengan wujudkan bank macam kita create employment, kita kalau tak orang Islam akan ke belakang. berbanding dengan orang lain dengan apa yang dia katakan. Dan dia kata takkan kita orang Islam tak boleh buat untung. Macam dia kata Islam akan lemah dan akan ditindas.
Macam ni lah saya
kata. Argument lah.
Okay, argument. Kita boleh free discussion. Saya nak tanya, siapakah dia atau masyarakat manakah masyarakat yang paling hebat di sisi Allah SWT? A group of people who is the most excellent in the eyes of Allah. Siapa?
Most taqwa. I don't know.
Okay lah, ayat Quran kata innaka Allah hukum. Tapi a group of people, kata kalau dalam sejarah manusia ni, satu group of people yang paling di-admire ataupun dipuji oleh Allah Ta'ala siapa? I put it to you, the Prophet and his companion. Betul tak? Okay. The Prophet and his companion in Madinah. Those were the best generation. Sebenarnya itu pun hadis Nabi SAW. Dia kata khairul quruni qarni. The best of generation is my generation. The best. Dia sebut. And then thumma alladhina lahum. And then the one after me, thumma alladhina lahum. Maknanya the one after me. Tapi the best is him. Yang lepas itu dia akan bawah sikit. Okay. Okay, sekarang soalannya, the Prophet and his companions tu, Madinah during the time of the Prophet, adakah dia, apakah yang dia paling hebat? Adakah dari segi GDP? No, dari segi GDP dia kalah dengan tempat lain. Pada masa itu kita tengok dari segi teknologi, yang lebih hebat adalah Parsi kan. Parsi masa itu ada Persian civilization, ada Roman civilization, semua tu hebat-hebat. Dari segi tentera, dari segi teknologi dan sebagainya, dia lebih hebat. Tetapi Allah SWT kata the Prophet was the best. Apa kriteria yang Tuhan pakai kalau dia puji Nabi SAW dan sahabat dia? Ekonomi ke? Tak ada, bukan. Dia kaya ke? Adakah Madinah kaya? Tidak kaya. Cek lah. When the Prophet died, dia ada beberapa kaldai, ada baldi, itu je. Dia bukannya ada a lot of wealth. Madinah was not a rich city compared to other cities. So yang dia hebat hanyalah inna akramakum indallahi atqakum, ketakwaan. Orang-orang dia baik-baik. Baik-baik dari segi Islam lah. Dia orang yang very Islamic people. Itu je. Jadi kalau kita nak measure, kalau kita tengok the world, this is the problem. I think the way we look at things, when we look at the society in the world, kita ni nak compete apa? Compete apa? Yang Tuhan, so based on our perspective, kita nak compete atas apa? Nak compete, kalau kita compete kerana Allah SWT, because of Allah, then kita tahulah apa dia. Kita nak jadi macam Nabi SAW. Jadi Allah Ta'ala puji because of the Islamicness of the society at that time. Bukannya sebab dia kaya. So sama, kalau kita talk about competition between society, kalau kita confuse, kalau kita tak jelas apa dia nak kita compete, ada orang compete pasal nak dapat gold medal. Kan? Macam dulu East Germany kan dengan Russia, dia gila-gila nak dapat gold medal, sampai bagi drug dan sebagainya itu the athletes kan. Ada orang compete dari segi apa lagi, dari segi teknologi Jepun dan sebagainya kan. Tapi at the end of the day, what is it that matters kan? What is it that matters? Then at the end of the day, what happened to the society yang compete on those other basis? Apa dia mendatang ke kesejahteraan ke? Nah, jadi balik kepada tadi, apa yang kita bila kata maqasid syariah, apa dia nombor satu? Apa yang nombor satu dalam maqasid syariah? Adalah pemeliharaan hifzul din, memelihara agama yang nombor satu. Yang kedua adalah memelihara nyawa. Jadi dia ada priority dia. Jadi tapi yang argument Islamic scholar, argument Islamic scholar dia kata dia nak menjaga ekonomi ni untuk menjaga agama. Dia kata kalau kita macam miskin, kita teruk ke macam Afghanistan, Taliban, siapa nak ikut orang Islam? Biar kita mundur. In that sense lah. Kita kena ada fighter jet, kita kena ada Taliban masalah. I'm trying to play devil's advocate. This is specifically our own Islamic scholar juga. You didn't answer my question just now. What did Allah say about the generation of the Prophet? What was the reason why Allah praised them? So the other question is, therefore, siapa yang kita admire? Siapa yang Allah admire? Bila Allah admire, kita nak admire pun on that basis also. Bukan on the basis of other things. Whoever we want to admire must be on the same basis that Allah admires those people.
True.
So for example, one of the group of people I admire now in current context, I admire the people in Gaza. People admire in Gaza because they are able to preserve their dignity, kan? They refuse to be subjugated. They refuse to be subjugated by the Zionists. But if you look at them, dia adakah economic growth dia hebat ke? Adakah teknologi dia hebat ke? Tapi kita admire dia tau. Tapi orang Amerika dan Israel, dia ada teknologi lah, dia ada Iron Dome lah, dia macam-macam. Tapi kita kata dia orang paling teruk kan, betul tak? Kita kata dia paling teruk sebab dia zalim lah. Walaupun teknologi dia hebat, dia ada teknologi perang lah, elektronik teknologi, komputer teknologi, whatever lah. Tapi kita kata dia are the worst people in the world. Tapi the best people in the world ada people in Gaza. Why? Dia tak ada all that, tapi kerana dia ada ni. I want to, before I want to highlight and before I forget, my son went to Gaza as a reporter last time, and he said the people in Gaza, they have a sense of dignity, and lagi satu, dia kata you can't see homeless people. Can you imagine? Gaza ni dah kena bom tau. Rumah dia hancur kan. Tapi dia kata in the streets you don't see homeless people begging in the street. So I tanya one Gaza, a friend from Gaza. He didn't think about that, And I said, kalau kita tanya dia, siapa lebih ramai orang yang homeless, dekat KL ke ataupun dekat Gaza? Sebenarnya dekat KL lagi ramai. Kalau pergi San Francisco lebih ramai. Tapi dekat Gaza tak ramai macam di KL. Kenapa? Tahu, I tanya kawan saya dekat yang datang dari Gaza. Dia fikir kejap, dia kata, you know what dia kata? Ini is interesting. Dia kata, because I will never allow any of my relatives to be on the street begging for food. Nampak tak? Dia tu nilai orang Gaza ni. Dia jaga ahli keluarga dia. Kalau ada siapa-siapa rumah kena bom, dia akan ambil. Dia akan jaga. Dia tak akan biarkan macam tu. Sebab tu dekat Gaza tak ada orang homeless. Walaupun rumah tak ada. Tapi ada orang akan ambil. Orang jaga. Jadi sifat membantu ni sangat kuat di kalangan orang Palestin. Kenapa? Sebab dia ada agama. Dia orang Palestin ni di Gaza ni, dia ada nilai agama yang sangat kuat. Dan oleh kerana itulah dia jaga sama-sama dia dan dia ada dignity dia. Jadi balik kepada kita sekarang ni, kita masalah ni, kita dah tinggal semua nilai-nilai ni. Kita apabila penjajah datang ke negara kita dulu, dia datang dan dia telah merubah nilai masyarakat kita. Sebab itu apabila kita tengok orang susah, makin ramai orang duduk dekat orang yang homeless. Dia jadi macam negara barat. Sebab apa? Orang tak kisah, sama-sama tak kisah, saudara mara pun tak kisah dah sekarang ni. Sebab tu kalau dulu ada orang tolong jaga kan. Sekarang ni tak ada orang jaga dah. Dah jadi macam tak kisah sama-sama kita dah. Ini penjajah datang, dia tukar macam-macam benda. Dan bukan sahaja nilai kita, dia tukar sistem pendidikan, dia tukar sistem ekonomi kita. Dan akhirnya sekarang kita ada sistem ekonomi yang sangat berteraskan kepada riba. Dan sebab itulah sekarang ni kita pun susah macam dia juga. Kalau dulu orang ada bencana macam banjir kan. Dulu kat Kelantan Terengganu banjir biasa je. Banjir ni biasa, lepas tu okey balik, tak ada masalah. Dia tak tengok dia sebagai satu benda yang sangat perlu dibimbangkan sangat. Sebab apa? Biasa berlaku. Bulan 12 banjir okey. Tapi sekarang ni takut. Kenapa? Sebab bila banjir berlaku, tutup kedai, dia hutang banyak tak boleh bayar. Dulu orang tak ada hutang. Jadi bila banjir berlaku pun, dia okey lah, dia relax kejap kan. Dia relax, lepas tu dia kerja balik. Dia mungkin ada saudara mara meninggal, tapi dia proceed with life again. The suffering doesn't last very long. Tapi sekarang ini, actually tak ada COVID pun, tak ada banjir pun, boleh berlaku boleh berlaku seperti berlaku in 1997 and also in the 2010 subprime crisis kan. Ada ramai orang suffer. Tak ada bencana pun. Tak ada natural disaster, tapi orang suffer. Orang homeless dan sebagainya. Kenapa? Financial kan. Tapi orang kita dulu, orang Melayu dulu, walaupun ada bencana banjir dan sebagainya, kemarau ke apa, they don't last very long. After the banjir is over, they can proceed with life. Sekarang ni masalah kita adalah bila COVID dah tak ada, kemungkinan the suffering continues and continues. Dia tak habis, dia bertambah-tambah. Dia akan bertambah-tambah kan, sebab macam Tab cakap tadi, bila dia hutang tu, dia tak forgive dia hutang tu, dia tak cancel kan. Dia kata tak ada compounded interest rate. Tengku Zafrul cakap tak ada compounded interest rate je, tapi interest tu ada juga. Kemudian dia tak maafkan, jadi is there. You cannot pay, you go bankrupt. So you still have to pay. And then later on, mungkin after moratorium is over, dia compound balik. And then it goes up and up and up. So benda tu tak.
Prof, if you look at it, kan, what's happened over the last couple of months, the number of people that committed suicide is mainly because of that, or because they not able to, dah tak tahu apa nak buat dah, because orang trying to get them to move out the house ke, kereta pun dah habis semua, makan tak boleh, so nak jaga anak pun tak boleh dah, so they don't know what to do. They get to that point of stage in life kan.
Betul kan. And then other people also cannot help. For example kan, katakan I have a relative, dia ada rumah sewa, tapi alhamdulillah dia tak ada hutang tu rumah sewa tu. Dia tak ada hutang kan, jadi orang yang duduk rumah sewa dekat PJ, dia tak boleh bayar. So dia kata macam mana? Saya cakap tak apa, up to you lah. Okay lah, kata dia tak boleh bayar, tak apalah, tak boleh bayar, duduk kat situ. Tapi dia tak mengelabah. Why? Because dia tak ada hutang atas rumah dia. Tapi kalau you ada hutang atas rumah tu, anda orang tak payah sewa, what you gonna do? You are not going to be that merciful, right? Because the bank be chasing after you. Kalau you hutang dengan loan, lagi you takut. And so you cannot be merciful, as I said, because the banks are not going to be merciful to you. So you cannot be merciful to other people. But when the case of when you don't have that kind of system, dulu orang susah, dia tolong saling bantu-membantu. Walaupun dalam keadaan seperti sekarang ni, kita tak ada ruang untuk bantu each other kan. Dia tak ada ruang because everybody is desperate. So they have no space to be merciful to each other. This is a very sad situation and it's not going to go away.
So the whole world, we are living the 21st century. The key kanan pun, kalau argument, kalau katalah orang Islam semua buat macam tu, nanti the Chinese will take over Malaysia. They're going to take all the properties, all the business, dan kita akan merempat di negeri sendiri macam. It's always about that, macam dulu pun lah. Mahathir try to put something else.
I know.
That's the argument.
That's the argument. I know. I come across this argument. I would just give like this lah. Katakan you duduk kat Penang. Ada orang cakap macam itu, dia kata dia nak beli rumah. So saya cakap, you jangan hutang, nanti cari susah nanti. Okay? You kalau tak ada duit, you sewa je. You simpan duit tu. Bila cukup nanti, you belilah tanah mana-mana kan. Tapi you jangan berhutang, nanti kan susah. Tapi dia nak jawab. Okay, I cakap macam ni je lah. You kata kenapa? Dia cakap macam ni. Kalau kita tak beli rumah-rumah ni, China ambil. China beli. Dia kata macam tu kan. China akan beli rumah-rumah ni semua kan. Jadi orang Islam tak ada rumah nanti. So I cakap kat dia, okay, kalau argument you macam tu, katakan rumah tu naik harga sampai 5 juta. Apa you nak buat? You nak lawan juga dengan China nak beli rumah 5 juta. Nak ada hutang atas kepala you 5 juta. Just because you tak nak bagi China beli rumah tu, you pun pergi hutang ke bank 5 juta atas kepala you. You lecturer. The discussion about you lecturer. So you lecturer gaji berapa je kan? Sekarang because of that you tersanggup ada hutang atas kepala. Tengok apa jadi, katakan you businessman lah katakan. So you nak lawan China dekat Penang. So you nak lawan dengan China dari segi rumah juga, you belilah dengan hutang. Sekali berlaku COVID sekarang ni, apa jadi? Kan you hutang berjuta-juta kan? Bagus desperate kan? I will tell you the real ni lah, I had an argument. Benda ni dah lama I buat campaign ni kan. So this is the real story lah kan. I was in a forum together with My Din punya CEO kan sekarang ni kan.
WIRA okay.
So dia dia punya business model is actually by debt. About at one point his debt was about 2 billion. Anyway, I have always been telling people, you can lead your life without debt. Kalau you nak modal lebih, carilah pelabur kan. Cari pelabur, jangan hutang. Especially hutang daripada institusi riba. Kalau you nak hutang dengan mak mentua you ke kawan-kawan tu lain cerita lah kan. Dia bantu dia bagi hutang supaya you buat bisnes. Okay, you dapat hutang tanpa riba, okay, no problem. Tapi jangan pergi daripada bank hutang, you cari pasal nanti. Because I cakap, you never know what's going to happen in the future. I cakap dia, you pernah dengar tak syarikat BlackBerry? Dia kata, apa jadi kat BlackBerry sekarang ni? Kata. You pernah dengar tak syarikat Ericsson, Nokia, apa jadi? So syarikat you ni lebih hebat daripada BlackBerry ke? Syarikat you lebih hebat daripada Nokia ke? Apa Basically, dalam business anything can happen, cakap kan? Ni sebelum COVID tau. So COVID cakap my point was simple. Anything in business, anything can happen. So I nasihat you, ni ada businessman dekat bawah ni, ada atas stage sekali dengan CEO chairman of Maidin. So I cakap you jangan cari pasal kan. You cari pelabur kan. Jangan berniaga dengan hutang ni, memang you cari susah. You may face disaster in the future. Be careful. Lepas saya kena kutuk lah dengan chairman Maidin tu. Dia kata I ni tak tahu bisnes lah, teori je, lecturer dan sebagainya. Kan dia kutuk I. So nak kata apa kan? I jawab balik lah, I kata macam ni. Do you have to be a good footballer in order to be a good coach? You tahu tak siapa nama yang Chelsea tu, apa nama?
Mourinho.
Mourinho. Dia sebagai footballer hebat ke dia?
Tak ada
pun. Tapi as a manager dia hebat. You don't have to be a good footballer in order to be a good coach. Kadang-kadang yang tak ada, you study the matter, you can understand. You don't have to be a woman to understand woman, right? Okay. Anyway, so coming back just now. Sekarang ni apa jadi? Dah COVID, Maidin dia punya stall tu dia tak bayar, dia orang tak dapat bayar sewa lah kedai-kedai dalam Maidin tu kan. Sekarang dia dah, kan kita tengok nanti dia paling bising sekali marah kepada bank sekarang ni kan. Sebab not considerate to Maidin. Tapi that is the way you do business. Then when things happen, dia kata kan, kalau kita tak buat macam ni, kita not ni. Tengok, tapi now who is in big trouble now? Macam lah Asia kan, Tony Fernandez. Dulu bukan main orang puji dia, sekarang ni dia paling sakit sekarang ni. Pekerja yang paling sakit, pekerja-pekerja dia jugalah kan. So anyway, coming back to this now. So Boon punya point tadi, orang Cina akan beli semua harta. You tahu tak, dekat Penang cakap, I pergi satu rumah tu untuk homestay, ada rupa-rupanya berpuluh-puluh unit dah dibeli oleh orang Cina tu. Sekarang ni orang yang tak cerdik cakap ialah orang yang pergi beli dengan dia. Dia beli banyak-banyak, lepas tu dia jual. Dia dapat mungkin interest rate daripada bank mana-mana. Lepas tu dia bagi naik harga, lepas tu dia jual. Dia berapa duit. Tapi katakan yang beli tu orang Melayu, termasuk Melayu, termasuk Cina. Semua beli kan, lepas tu hutang lah sama berapa 30 tahun ke 40 tahun ke. Lepas tu kerja gila-gila nak bayar. Katakan orang Melayu tadi, dia tak beli rumah tu, dia sewa je. Cina yang beli 20 unit tu pakai hutang bank, tiba-tiba datang COVID, what's going to happen to him?
Kena dah lah.
Mati dia. Itu yang bunuh diri tu. Yang bunuh diri ni termasuklah orang Cina juga. Betul tak tak? Yang bunuh diri ni bukan orang Melayu je. Orang Melayu ada dah sekarang ni kan, tapi yang paling ramai bunuh diri adalah orang bukan Islam. Dia model perniagaan dia di mana dia banyak berhutang ni, ini yang buat dia sakit. Jadi yang rumah tu bukan dia punya, itu bank yang punya. Kan? Yang kata Cina akan ada semua harta tu, tak adalah. Itu semua adalah bank punya. Bila orang tak beli, dia sakit. Bila orang tak ada customer, tak ada orang sewa, dia bunuh diri. Dia terjun. Lepas tu kita tak tahu cerita dia sebab dia dah bunuh diri dah. Jadi the model you're talking about ni, orang-orang bukan Islam ni semuanya, their model is actually bring suffering to themselves. Yang alung-alung yang kerja, yang jadi mangsa alung ni, ramai buat orang Cina berniaga ni. Berniaga hutang ke bank, hutang ke alung dan sebagainya, lepas tu kena bunuh diri. Adakah kita nak ikut cara dia? Cari pasal.
So, Prof, kalau macam dah start macam tak silap saya Prof pernah cerita pasal the start of riba punya institution macam once upon a time masa zaman Khalifah Utsmaniyah tu kita tak ada, kita pakai wakaf sistem whatnot. Tapi bila the West tu dia dah pakai riba sistem, dia makin maju dan kita pun ikut dia dan jadi apa yang sekarang sebab dia lagi maju, lebih moden, tak tahu amin, dan kita
itulah dia dikatakan lebih maju, tapi you go and study back their society, then you will realize actually dia ada banyak masalah. True. Sekarang ini kalau kita study, jangan tengok surface je, go and study. For example, people talk about the Scandinavian model. I know a bit about the houses, kita cakap pasal rumahnya di Switzerland. Di Switzerland, because the banking system in Switzerland is quite advanced. So I wanted to study. I found out, I was curious why the people in Switzerland, they like, especially in Zurich, more than 50%, almost 50%, dia sewa. Dia tak beli. So I wanted to know why. Orang Melayu dia mesti beli kan? Dia mesti nak own rumah tu. Kenapa orang Switzerland dan Zurich dia tak kisah. Dia prefer to rent. So I went to and I have a discussion with a friend. He bought a house. Cut story short, okay, make it simple. He bought a house. He borrowed money from bank, about 1 million Swiss francs. So I tanya dia, kenapa orang lain sewa dan you beli? Okay, dia bagi tahu. Number one, actually dia kata, I am an exception. You must realize, my house is outside Zurich, by the way. Inside Zurich, I won't be able to buy because it's very expensive. But I'm outside, so I'm able to buy. And then dia kata, the other thing is, I borrowed this money. Okay. Now I ask him, the other thing kata, I am a very rich family. I come from a very rich family. That's why I'm able to buy. Only very rich people can buy. Kata, yang tak kaya tak beli. Kata. So I am lucky because my parents are very rich. My family is very rich, so I got money. He's got business. Okay. And then I ask him, question, when are you going to pay back your loan? Yeah, you know what interesting, Lepas tu dia tengok kat I, dia kata, I don't understand your question. It was puzzled. I thought it was a very simple question. I said, you borrowed some money, right, from the bank to buy this house. So I presumably you will have the loan will be for a certain number of years. So my question is, when is your loan going to be settled? And then dia jawab balik, well, I'm not going to settle my loan. So it's my turn to be puzzled. I said, excuse me, you borrowed money from the bank, you're not going to settle your loan? How can the bank allow you to do that? So dia jawab balik. Dia kata, over here, when I bought this property for 1 million Swiss francs, actually, I only pay 30%. The 70% is paid by the bank. But then, I do not pay back the loan. I only pay the interest. The interest, because the interest rate is quite low here, so dia kata dia bayar interest saja. Jadi, I will pay the interest forever. The bank doesn't mind. They get the money from the interest. So, the house, I can continue to stay in this house as long as I pay the interest. If I don't pay the interest, then I'll be kicked out. What about his children? The children can stay in this house as long as they can pay the interest. So, the house actually belongs to the bank. And I asked him, why? Why don't you settle the loan so that you can have 100% of the house? If I start to do that, I will not have any money left because it's very expensive. So nak bagi tahu bahawa bila sistem ni dah berkembang besar, rumah tu jadi begitu mahal, orang kaya pun tak boleh milik. So in other words, the houses dekat Switzerland tu, they are not owned by people. They are owned by the banks. Or the companies which borrow money from the banks now. Big company, corporation, they bought project, they borrow from banks, and then the banks will own 70%, they own 30%, and then they charge rent. So the rent is quite high also. The rent is quite high, by the way. I went to one of the houses. The house is very small, only 1 bedroom. Tapi harga dia dekat 5,000 ringgit or something like that. Very expensive. So what happened is that everybody start paying rent to the company, and the company pay to the bank. and the bank will always own about 70% of all the properties. So at the end of the day, all these countries yang so-called advanced ni, people cannot afford to own their own houses. So when you talk about these countries are advanced, you find out their family is very small. Kenapa? Because we cannot afford to have children. You go to Japan, the birth rate is only 1.2, less than 2, no? Maknanya 1 point something only. Because it's very expensive. Why expensive? Because the nature of the system that creates money when they give loans, so the money becomes reduced in value. So everything becomes very expensive, especially properties. Property is very expensive, and also other costs of living is very high in Japan. So all the advanced countries in America and Europe, people cannot afford to have 5 children. Only one child. So what happens? That kind of society. So beyond, bila you tengok society tu you kata advance, sebenarnya dia ada banyak masalah. For example, when you have only one child, or both in Japan, young people cannot afford to get married. They don't even get married because it's too expensive to have a family. So they stay in cyber cafes. I saw this. They were living in cyber cafes because they cannot. The job is also very temporary nowadays. A lot of jobs are temporary because companies cannot afford to hire them on long-term contracts. So short-term contracts only. So because of that, you know what happens in Japan now? You have what's called a kodukuri or something like that, where people die alone. Why? Because they don't have children, and because the children stay very far away from them, and then they are staying by themselves, and then they just die, and people find out they have died. They are dead already for 3 months or 2 months or 2 weeks, and they dah tak tahu lagi. Why?
I watched the documentary.
Because why? Because the society has is so expensive, and you cannot have families, right? And that kind of society, is that what you want for ours? Actually, we are going that way. Our birth rate now is about 1.7 or 1.8, something like that now.
So Malaysia is much better lagi lah.
Well, dulu the average until 1970 birth rate, they call it fertility rate, is about 5 children per fertile family, fertile woman. 5 orang anak. Sekarang ni dah jadi less than 2. What's going to happen to our society? Because kalau tanya couple sekarang, dia kata expensive. So why things expensive to have a family? Because the nature of the system. So we are going that way. And actually sekarang pun sama kan, orang tak ada normal dia punya budaya dah jadi macam big city. Dia tak tegur neighbor, dia tak ada masa untuk neighbor, dia tak ada masa untuk anak-anak dia, husband and wife kerja.
So do you think that with the event of the pandemic, COVID, Allah SWT is trying to show us that there's a better way of doing things? Isn't this a good time for for us to reflect and see how it would be better if we could, and this sort of proves your point, for instance, that this is not sustainable, the way that the economy, the way that people will be living, and we should go back to the basic Islamic way of life, of economy and stuff. That could this be an opportunity for us to showcase this?
There is a verse in the Quran that says that dhahara al-fasad fil barri wal bahr, telah berlaku fasad di atas bumi dan laut, dan bumi, supaya mereka manusia ni kembali kepada jalan asal, jalan betul kan. Tuhan sebut Al-Quran tu, dia berlaku kefasadan supaya orang sedar dan balik kepada pangkal jalan, balik kepada kebenaran. Sepatutnya macam itulah. Sepatutnya kalau you think about it, you ponder about it, think about it, and understand what's wrong with our system, then we should go back and understand where we have gone wrong. Masalahnya, unfortunately, I've been observing, it's not happening. I don't know, maybe we can discuss this. Why? People don't seem, you can see the scenario very well, but some other people can't see it all. They don't see any problem with the system. So I find it very difficult also to understand why they can't see.
I think still in denial tau. It's not got that bad yet, So kita pun where we at, we're not We don't know when this is going to end, yeah? We're always hopeful that it ends 2 months' time. But the probability is not there, It's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So maybe Allah Ta'ala might force it to the point where we will repent, and say, God, it might happen. Because if you look at the history of the world, this thing has happened many times, kan? Where dia macam reset lah. Komputer tu control alternate delete, kan? Nobody's going to go control alternate delete by themselves unless they really have to,
Tapi dia bergantung pada manusia tu juga. Kalau setengah orang dia kena bala, dia sedar, dia cepat-cepat dia taubat dan dia sedar. Setengah orang macam Fir'aun, dia nak mati baru dia dah nak mati baru dia kata okay, I accept you, kan. Kita tahu cerita dia, kan. It's too late already. Maknanya dia sombong to the point dia dah nak mati barulah dia accept. So sekarang ini masalahnya di kalangan masyarakat ni, kemungkinan lah kesombongan manusia ni, dia sombong. Jadi dia sombong ni, dia tak nak menerima, as you said, in denial, sampai to the point macam Fir'aun, dia dah nak mati. Maknanya masyarakat dia dah hancur baru dia nak sedar. By that time it's too late already. That is what I'm scared of.
So what are you proposing, Prof? Because this is the whole society in Malaysia, probably this whole world, the trending is like that. It's like you're talking about 90% people, minus certain countries, we're living the debt, except for orang yang, ada satu kawan pun balik Greek, balik kampung, basically memang dia kata orang kat situ memang tak ada hutang lah, duduk tepi dangau, makan buah, kalau macam dulu orang sekampung banyak tak ada kerja. Kalau boleh balik kampung, DO bagi tanah sikit buat penempatan semula, memang tanah banyak lah, boleh beli lembu.
To get out of society is not the way lah. Takkan kita tak boleh pun, it's not realistic for us to get out of society and duduk dalam hutan. Nanti kena halau pula, bukan hutan tu kan, macam kat durian dekat rumah, dia kena halau, kan. So tanah ni kajang punya, jadi tak boleh buat kampung sendiri pun. So what is the way forward is to make people realize. I prefer that we try our best to make people realize where we have gone wrong. Sebagai seorang Islam patutnya senang je. Sebab kita ada basic kita, kan. Kita ada basic, kita ada ajaran yang dah memang clear. Tapi the Western people pun dia dah tahu juga. They know that they have gone wrong. They understand. Kalau dulu masa after the 2010 crisis, they had a demonstration dekat mana tahu, dekat Wall Street. Because dia kata this Wall Street is the source of the problem. Dia nampak the banking system, the financial system is the source of a lot of their problems. So they understand this. A book written by a professor at Harvard, nama dia Kenneth Rogoff, he stated it clearly in his book. The title of the book is This Time is Different, 800 Years of Financial Folly. So dia cerita bagaimana masyarakat tu dia sentiasa menghadapi masalah krisis kewangan. A few hundred years dia collapse for all the time. Tapi masalahnya ialah dia kata they always say this time is different because bila dia collapse, dia naik balik and then they will ask each other, are we going to collapse again? And then they say the answer is this time is going to be different. Confident dia cakap, tapi collapse balik. And then they will do the same thing again, and then they will go through the same thing, so it doesn't end. So Kenneth Rogoff is saying people should realize we are in the wrong model. That's what Kenneth Rogoff said in his book. And then he wrote in his book tu, and it's one of his article dia kata the Islamic teaching that do not allow interest is a model which Western policymakers should study. Dia nampak bahawa as long as you have this industry where you can make money from loans, the debt-based society economy will always be there. Tapi Islam sebenarnya tak membenarkan. Jadi dia nampak actually the solution is Islam. Tapi of course dia takut nak cakap secara radikal, nanti orang kata dia Taliban ke apa, kan. So what happened, dia cakap we should study the Islamic model. Malangnya the Islamic model ni, kalau dia kata Islamic banking, the problem is Islamic banking ni dia punya basis dia sama, kan. Dia basically they are in the lending industry also. It's a problem. Itu masalah. Okay, ada dua benda lah. Kita pun probably 1 hour kita nak try ni. One is
We pretty much kata dah gear ke 10. We are there. The bank is everywhere. I mean, the bank Islam, so-called bank Islam pun basically benda yang sama, and people think that is the Islamic way of doing things. You know, we are in that debt society, debt culture, whatnot. Everyone is doing that, minus very few people lah. So one is how to buck the trend, to go against the trend. Nombor dua, it's are you saying that post nasib rakyat post COVID-19, I tak tahu bila benda tu akan end, mungkin setahun, mungkin couple of months, you know. What are we supposed to be doing? Are we supposed to, you know, debt pun I tak tahu, mungkin 10 years, 20 years kalau ambil hutang kereta ke rumah, it will take a long time. So how you suppose the rakyat jelata to adjust?
Sekarang ni, I'm not going to pretend to say that things going to be easy because we are too far into the system already.
Yeah,
so dia akan will require a lot of pains to get out. Tapi we don't have any choice. We don't have any choice because the way we are going is going to get worse and worse. As long as we don't change our direction, we are going to go deeper and deeper into trouble. Betul tak? I think Tech really understand this. We don't have any choice. We have to turn around. Tapi when we turn around, it's not going to be easy. It will take time. Okay, in the case of kalau as individuals, I say, right? So as society, kita kena teach people that a society that kita balik pada Islam, where kalau dia berasaskan kepada riba, then we are in trouble. So kita ada ajaran tu. Kalau riba based society, Allah Taala dah sebut kan, siapa yang beramal dengan riba ni, Allah akan mengisytiharkan perang. So Allah will declare war against people who practice this. So dia tahulah kita tak boleh beramal dengan tu. So sekarang ini we put aside Islamic banking, tak tahu tepi dulu, maknanya the riba base ini memang cari pasal. Allah Taala benci dan declare war. So you will not be safe lah kalau Allah declare war towards you. So we understand that. So we only need to explain it. So what we are witnessing now, people are suffering, especially the poor, and then you're gonna have chaos. You know, when we see chaos, when I read about chaos in Tunisia, dekat many countries, they are actually because of people suffering. They suffer. So bila dia suffer, dia dah confused. Dia marah kerajaan biasanya. Sebab dia kata kerajaan bertanggungjawab. Tapi sebenarnya kerajaan tak boleh buat apa kan? Kerajaan bukan tak boleh buat apa. There's only a limit to what they can do. Tapi because dia tak faham, dia blame kerajaan. You replace with the government, sama je. Look what happened in America now. You replace Trump dengan Biden. You think things are going to really improve in America? No. The people, especially the poor, they are going to still suffer. Before this, Obama, Trump, Biden, you can't see any significant improvement over there in America. So what is going to happen is that there are going to be chaos. So kita kena explain kepada orang that actually one of the main contribution, one of the main factors that contribute to this suffering of people is actually the system, the financial system. I wrote something, I don't know what you about in Lebanon. People are suffering like crazy in Lebanon. You know why? Because it's actually a debt-based society as well. The government is in debt, people are in debt, and there's no money anymore. The government cannot do anything much now. The rich people, they lend money to the government and they are sitting on the interest income, and they don't care about other people. So and the society in chaos now in Lebanon. So you see countries are one after another. So we have
to point, Doc, I was about to make this point tadi. You know, if we look at what's been the report that's come out ever since the pandemic, the billionaires have tripled their net worth over this period of time. Yeah, and so they have actually benefited more than this, and the people who have suffered is suffering even more. So the capitalist portion though obviously works for them, and they propagate to make sure that it continues like that. Tapi again, as an accountant, you know that some of it is just you make it, you provide macam ni lah, mora ni semua, you put it as if you're getting income, but actually you don't get income. So it's just an accounting profit, to a certain extent, where the cash flow is not there,
So that's why I say people like you.
You're from the accounting.
So I'm saying people like you who have got background and other people who understand, they kena pandai to explain. This is how we went wrong, and this is what we need to do. So kita kena sama-sama lah explain the way ahead. It's not going to be easy, tapi my basic understanding is, number one, kita kena change our values. because the institution yang salah ni, the riba based system ni, they can only grow, the riba based institution grow in a society with the values that support that kind of institution. So when your society is very materialistic, likes to consumerist society, dia akan jadi mangsa, senang jadi mangsa. They will support the system. Last time, for example, if you want to buy everything cash based on what you can afford, you will not go to the bank to borrow money. You just say, I cannot afford, sorry, I cannot afford. But if you are materialistic, you want to show off to your neighbors, to your friends, then you will then become a customer to the system. You will contribute to making the system bigger. And if you are crazy about becoming a rich industrialist, you want to show all like Tony Fernandez, you want to be a captain, and you want to have an empire, then you will also support the system by borrowing huge amount of money, kan. Tapi kalau you are a modest person with modest ambitions, then what is the life? Apa tujuan hidup kan? Kalau you are that kind of person, then you will not be tricked by the system. So you have to change the value of the society first to make them understand what is the objective of life and what is the most important thing in life. That one is basic. Once you get this right, then they know how to live in a way which will not contribute to the growth of the system. Okay, they will know how to live the life. They will not contribute, and then from there you can change it slowly, and then later on you can have a system where it's back to the time of the Prophet, where the riba industry doesn't exist anymore. It will take time.
This is the problem with our education system to a certain extent, the value system, and the people that you use as heroes in class. These are the heroes. Who are the heroes, and how did they make their money? As compared to, so that by itself is an issue, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it's very, very appropriate comment. Yeah, very true indeed. So what you say about what is important in life, it also reflect who are the so-called successful people in life. Yeah. Kalau kita tengok dulu, orang zaman dulu, dia admire Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, kan? For example, kan? I will tell you, Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, they mention the name of some companions. I will just explain Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi. Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi, who is so famous, kalau you study his life, dia tak ada harta. He didn't have any harta such that dia tak pergi haji. Kenapa dia tak pergi haji? Because dia tak cukup duit. Dan salah satu sebab kenapa dia tak cukup duit ialah dia suka derma. Dia ada duit, dia tengok orang susah, dia bagi. So in the end, dia tak ada duit nak pergi haji. Tetapi Salahuddin Al-Ayyubi ni, orang admire dia. Kenapa? Because dia adalah orang yang telah menyumbang kepada empire Islam, membebaskan Baitul Maqdis. Baitul Maqdis, Al-Quds, dia yang membebaskan. Maknanya kita admire people for the right reason. They contribute to the religion. Ulama-ulama dulu, kan, orang-orang baik, itu yang kita admire. Tapi sekarang ini orang tak kenal pun ulama-ulama. Jadi itu yang betul lah Tab cakap. Macam mana
substance. The form over substance.
Okay, Prof. I got your point. Okay, satu benda is probably on individual basis. We have to take our own course ataupun study. Mungkin tahu, we can take that lah. Mungkin kita kurangkan. We can do that. So dengan the power yang I ada malam ni dengan you, I boleh appoint you to become, the Prime Minister yang ke-9 ke, or the Finance Minister of Malaysia yang ke-9. So with that power, I give it to you. What will you do to change Malaysia? What are the 3 things that you'll do to Malaysia?
No, I would say I will work on changing the values of people. Okay, the problem is that because the people's problem, people don't understand this, they will kick me out at the next election lah, kan? So you have to be the person who protect me so that I do not get kicked out. So in order to make sure that if I continue to have this, I will work to make sure people understand what is the purpose of life, and then to talk about to impart Islamic value, the real Islamic values, and from there these values will then contribute to building of the right institutions. Sebagai contoh, institution yang sangat penting dalam masyarakat Islam ialah wakaf. Jadi wakaf, I bagi contoh, I just studied kat Malaysia to show it to you how warped, tak betulnya pemikiran kita. Dekat Malaysia ni, orang admire tabung haji, tapi orang tak admire wakaf tau. Dekat Myanmar, ada satu hospital, free. Siapa-siapa daripada mana-mana religion, orang Buddha pun datang, kalau miskin, dia boleh dapat free medical services. Nama dia Muslim Free Hospital Yangon, dekat Rangoon. You boleh Google. Dia set up in 1937. Sampai sekarang 90 years dia dah operate, more than 90 years dia operate, free. Siapa-siapa boleh. Sebab apa? Dia dapat duit daripada orang. Orang Islam bagi duit, about 400,000 US per year. Orang Islam bagi duit supaya membantu orang miskin. Supaya boleh bagi free medical services. This is the kind of institution yang yang penting dalam masyarakat Islam. Banyak institution yang membantu orang. Macam mana dia boleh hidup dan kuat? Sebab orang suka bagi duit. Dia kerja-kerja dia bagi duit. Dia kerja-kerja dia bagi duit. Sebab tu ada banyak wakaf. Bila ada wakaf banyak, hospital free, university free dan sebagainya. Tetapi sebaliknya dekat Malaysia, you tahu, bila orang tanya apa dia institusi yang paling disegani oleh orang Islam di Malaysia, disebut tabung haji. Kalau you tengok tabung haji, adakah dia membantu orang miskin? Tidak. Dia telah, tabung haji memerlukan bantuan kerajaan pada tahun 2019, announced by the government, 17.8 billion injection spread over 10 years. 17.8 billion datang dari kerajaan untuk survive. Apa dia tabung haji ni? Tabung haji adalah tabung yang 50% dia punya duit datang daripada 1.3% of contributor. Orang kaya-kaya letak duit itu dapat income. Jadi tabung untuk orang kaya dapat around 6%. Katakan you taruh, ada one guy taruh 190 juta. Dia dapat maknanya I calculated dia dapat income lebih kurang 11 juta setahun free. Goyang kaki, risk free. So akhirnya apa jadi? Tabung ini dia memerlukan bantuan kerajaan sebanyak 17.8 bilion spread over 10 years. Kerajaan masih lagi bayar. Sebab tu sekarang ini kalau kerajaan tak bagi duit ni, every year dia taruh berapa bilion dalam tabung haji. Kalau tidak, tabung haji tak boleh survive. Dia tak ada duit. Tapi inilah yang menjadi kebanggaan orang Islam di Malaysia. Kalau you tanya kat Malaysia ada tak hospital yang free kepada semua orang? Tak kira bangsa. Ada tak? Ada tak? Tak boleh, kita tak boleh, tak tahu. Tapi di Myanmar ada. Macam mana boleh ada di Myanmar, tak ada di negara yang majoriti Islam? Sebab orang majoriti Islam ni, dia tak ada nilai yang macam orang Myanmar. Orang Myanmar bukan orang Islam di Myanmar lah. Dia suka memberi. Sebab tu dia boleh buat hospital yang boleh bantu orang. Tapi orang Malaysia ni, orang Melayu, orang Islam di Malaysia, nilai dia tak sama dah. Dia fikir pasal kaya. Sebab tu dia bangga dengan tabung haji. Sebab dia kata, ini tabung ni ada banyak duit. Lebih kurang 82 bilion. Tapi maknanya dia bangga dengan kekayaan. Tetapi orang Myanmar, Muslim di Myanmar, dia bangga dengan kemampuan untuk membantu orang. Jadi wakaf ni, institusi wakaf dekat Malaysia, tak ada. Bukan tak ada lah, tapi kecil. You tahu tak? My calculation, wakaf punya aset dekat Malaysia is less than 10 billion. Tetapi institusi riba yang diperangi oleh Islam, oleh Allah SWT, dia pun punya aset almost 4 trillion, which is 4,000 billion. Kalau you compare dengan wakaf, dia ada 10 billion. Jadi 10 bagi dengan 4,000 berapa? Less than 1%. Maknanya sepatutnya wakaf dominate the economy. Everything is wakaf. Masa zaman Abbasiyah dulu, hospital kucing for cats. Maknanya untuk binatang free. Sekarang ni you sakit COVID, you pergi hospital, kalau private hospital berapa? You kena bayar 30,000 deposit. Itulah dia masyarakat yang kita ada sekarang ni di Malaysia. Nampak tak? Jadi sekarang ni kita dah, nilai kita ni dah tak betul. Sebab tu kita tak admire, kita tak memberi nilai yang tinggi kepada institusi wakaf. Kita bagi duit sikit je kepada wakaf. Tapi kita bagi kepada bank satu bulan, bayar kereta kat 2,000, bayar rumah dekat 3,000, jadi 5,000. Bayar dekat, bagi kat wakaf, RM50. Sebulan. Betul tak? RM50 sebulan, you bayar RM5,000 kepada institusi riba. Sebab itu institusi riba berkembang cepat, sementara institusi wakaf yang menjadi sangat penting dalam ekonomi Islam is nothing. Kenapa? Dan maknanya dia ada combination of nilai dan juga sistem tadi. Jadi macam mana? Kita kena buat orang faham ni. Orang faham. Situasi yang kita ada sekarang ni, dia bermula daripada nilai yang tak betul. apa yang kita admire bukan apa yang Tuhan suruh kita admire. Wallahu a'lam bishawab. Spoke too much already.
Okay. Terima kasih Prof.
I think what you say is quite true, yang apa especially the riba based or even the non riba based lending units kan, they make credit so easy for people, and that becomes the issue that when then they get into the debt trap, and what we are in, a lot of communities around the world, even Malaysia, especially Malaysia, we are in a debt trap. We don't even have enough to cover nak makan, betul nak bayar borrowing lagi. All the things, betul. There's also, those are the formal debt. The informal debt lagi yang ada, yang ada kutu dia lah dengan apa-apa lagi, So eventually people are living in total debt. They are unhappy.
Yeah, you said just now because dia senang, tapi dia senang ni because kalau orang tu dia ada nilai yang betul, you kata senang memang betul. One driver, Indian driver from my university went to dia nak beli motosikal. So dia memang nak pinjam duit lah. So salah lah. Tapi tak apalah, nak bagi cerita, dia nak pinjam 5,000. You know what the bank officer cakap kat dia? Kenapa you nak pinjam 5,000? Ya pinjam dah 20,000. Dia pun kata, kenapa nak pinjam 20,000? Alah, you boleh lah pergi holiday ke, buat renovation rumah you ke apa, pinjamlah 20,000. Dia kata, saya nak beli motosikal je. Dia galakkan kawan tu beli 20,000.
As a KPI.
Exactly. Nasib baik, the Indian guy, dia smart. Dia kata, tak nak lah, nanti kan kena bayar dengan interest. So dia tak nak 5,000 ya. Jadi kalau kita ada the right understanding, the right values kan. Kalau budak-budak Melayu yang bukan semua, tak semestinya lah kan. Tapi ada setengah-setengah budak orang Islam yang tadi India tau, Hindu tau, tapi dia cerdik. Tapi orang budak Melayu 20,000. Oh, okay. Saya beli motosikal lagi besar, BMW ke apa. Betul tak beli Kawasaki yang cantik, yang lagi sophisticated 20,000. Jadi kenapa tu? Nilai kan. Dia tak takut kepada riba tadi. Yang keduanya dia nak life, consumerist, the consumerist society. Dia want to consume. Macam mana tu? Macam mana Boon? Macam nak selesaikan masalah itu? Bagi saya nilai lah. Kalau you are thinking about akhirat, you fikir pasal akhirat, benda ni tak penting lah. Betul tak Boon?
Betul. Ya. Okay. Terima kasih Prof Nazari atas perkongsian pasal basically kita punya value system kita. Apa yang kita letak, yang paling penting kenapa kita hidup di dunia lah. Kita punya tujuan hidup. Jadi benda itu pada saya memang tetap kepada each individual. Mana yang tahu mungkin kita akan sampaikan kepada yang belum tahu. Slowly. Islam tak pernah daripada kerajaan dan dia ke bawah. It's not like that. The authority yang buat. Daripada bawah, dia akan naik ke atas. So this we have to create a ripple. At the end of the day, apa macam Prof, macam Tab, macam saya, kita bertanggungjawab atas diri kita sendiri. Not even. So whether we have dispose apa yang sepatutnya kita buat, think that's the thing, we try to change society. Kalau ideally we don't have bertunjangkan dengan riba based system, dan ialah kita berwakaf satu sistem yang untuk menolong, satu sistem. Kalau ada loan pun qardul hasan, satu loan yang baik untuk menolong orang, bukan memberi untuk mendapat keuntungan. It will never help anything lah. So we will only, dan kita boleh bagi kawasan pun kita memberikan maruah kepada orang. Sebab orang tu dia dapat untuk membayar balik, bukan kita nak menolong orang tu yang dia akan menolong. So saya bagi pada Prof untuk bagi seminit untuk closing, dan bagi pada Tab.
Closing apa, saya nak cerita satu topik yang saya lupa nak cakap tadi pasal education tadi kan. Kat universiti sekarang, dulu universiti dia free tau, sebab dia banyak wakaf Kemudian ulama-ulama dia bebas, dia mengajar. Jadi ilmu kat universiti ni ilmu yang hebat-hebat lah untuk membina insan-insan yang bertakwa. Sekarang ini apa yang berlaku ialah kerajaan dah tak ada duit. Jadi apa berlaku ialah orang tak bagi duit lah kepada universiti. Universiti ni dapat duit kerajaan. Kerajaan pula tak ada duit sebab hutang banyak. Hutang kerajaan adalah almost I say it's not about more than 1 trillion or liabilities, about 58% to GDP now, based on depending on how you calculate. So what happened is kerajaan dah kurangkan bajet kepada universiti. So sekarang universiti dia kata you kena jaga. Orang yang keluar ni dia kena marketable. Jadi kursus-kursus yang marketable ni, yang tak marketable kena buang. Masyarakat pula dia hanya memberi nilai kepada orang yang boleh dia panggil value add, nilai tambah kepada syarikat. Syarikat ni diutamanya, jadi the most important you can make the company earn more revenue, betul tak? So kalau you keluar dari universiti, you kena buktikan you can contribute to the company make money. So what happens? So kursus-kursus yang yang tak boleh membantu ni tutup. Contoh apa? Filosofi. You come up with a degree in philosophy, no company want you. So what happen, universiti kata tak penting. Tetapi kalau you tengok dulu tradition of universities, the most important course is actually philosophy.
Okay.
Kalau you are an institution of knowledge, if you do not know about philosophy, then you do not deserve to be called a university. Betul tak? Dulu-dulu. Tapi sekarang
they try to put that philosophy in all before you study any subject, any course. You have to take the philosophy as a starting point. Especially in the West. Now Malaysia they try.
Sekarang ni tak ada. Sekarang ada. So what happened is that, so sekarang ni institution of knowledge is not institution of knowledge per se. It's actually institution to produce workers. They don't produce people of knowledge. They are designed to produce workers who will contribute to the system that is already enslaved to the riba institution. So
dekat UM lain lah bro.
Not sama je kan ni. Balik ada soalan sini
interesting question.
Pada UM ada gitu. Okay, ada one Azmi Syahrin dia tanya. Just from the viewer.
Okay, alright.
Assalamualaikum Prof. I would like to know why the profit element of Islamic Bank loan is equal to the interest of commercial bank. Is Islamic loan only about the akad only? Or whatever?
Yeah, alright. Actually, betul. It's very pertinent question. Sebab kalau kita address ni orang confused kan. Orang kata alternative Islamic banking. Well, the bank, as we said just now, dalam Islam kita tak dibenarkan mendapat keuntungan. We are not allowed to profit from loans. If you profit from loans, it's haram. When you give loan, you cannot make any profit from it. So banks, if they want to claim themselves to be Islamic, they cannot make any profit from loans. So what happens is that Islamic banks, what they do is, they do not have any more loan contracts. They have other contracts. They are the contracts such as sales and purchase contracts. So what happens is that they are the jual beli. So what happens is that they get involved in, for example, buying of land and then buying of commodities kan. In order to lend money, dia tak pakai loan contract, dia pakai what is called tawarruk contracts, dia pakai other form of contracts where they engage in buying and selling. But the buying and selling contracts that banks buat tu adalah semata-mata to avoid to replace the loan contracts. They still want to lend money, but they lend money using
fixed interest contract.
Okay. So the question dia katanya, soalan dia tanya, adakah kontrak akad? Memang betul akad dia adalah bukan akad hutang. Akad dia akad jual beli. Tetapi seperti kata pengerusi kepada Majlis Penasihat Syariah kepada Bank Negara, Datuk Dr. Daud Bakar, dalam satu tulisan dia kata semua trading activities ni yang dilakukan oleh bank ni adalah bukan real trading activities. Dia cakap, dia mengaku dia bukan. Sebab tu kalau you pergi ke kawan nak pinjam duit pada bank, dia kata the bank will structure you a contract where you buy a palm oil and then you sell palm oil kan, and then you get money for yourself. So actually that contract that you buy palm oil, you sell palm, bukan you nak palm oil tu pun, you nak you wanted to borrow some money. So dia kata that's why dia kata dia ni adalah bukannya real trading contracts, bukan real trading activities. So if you ask me, if it is not real, what is the opposite of real? Fake. It's fake.
So fake. Tipu. Dosa besar tu.
Kalau fake, so my answer is I don't want to go into halal and haram because itu kerja mufti ya. Tetapi sekarang ni I nak tanya orang-orang yang berkecimpung dalam bank Islam, you sekarang telah melakukan aktiviti jual beli yang dikatakan oleh pengerusi Majlis Penasihat Syariah Bank Negara, dia kata adalah bukan real punya. Bukan real, dia tak kata fake tapi bukan real. Cakapnya Boon tadi, Boon cakap fake. Jadi maknanya you sekarang sedang melakukan aktiviti jual beli yang palsu kan, fake palsu kan. Okey, kalau you buat yang palsu ini kerana apa? Kerana nak memberi pinjam wang, memberi pinjam wang dan mendapat keuntungan dengan melakukan jual beli yang palsu tadi. Jadi sekarang ni soalannya, you berani ke nak jumpa Allah Ta'ala nanti dengan aktiviti palsu ni? Berani ke? For me, I tak berani. I tak berani nak jumpa, nak jawab Allah Ta'ala nanti bila you sendiri ada mengaku benda tu fake. Tapi kalau you fake, kalau you dah fake, berani lagi you nak jumpa Allah Ta'ala? Tu kan, ingat Tuhan tak tahu ke tu benda tu fake? You sendiri dah mengaku fake.
Semua orang tahu, Prof.
Ya?
It's there in the contract. Tiba-tiba ada palm oil nak beli rumah, macam mana tu?
Jadi I tak nak kata halal haram. I cuma cakap dia bukannya menjadi penyelesaian kepada masalah masyarakat. Bahkan dia boleh menyumbang kepada menambah masalah masyarakat, sebab orang-orang Islam dulu yang takut nak pinjam duit pada bank, sekarang dia berani sebab dia kata ini halal. So dulu dia pinjam sikit je, tapi sekarang jangan bimbang. Halal sekarang ni. Nak buat kemudian kahwin besar-besar pun boleh pinjam. Kita dapat duit dari bank, kita pinjam cara halal, kita buat kemudian kahwin 100,000 besar punya supaya fancy sikit kan. Mana dapat duit, kita pinjam dari bank secara halal. So dulu dia tak berani pinjam sebab dia kata haram. Sekarang dia berani pinjam sebab halal. Akhirnya dia terjebak dalam masalah hutang yang kita bincang tadi. Yang kita the so called debt trap yang Tab cakap tadi. Ramai orang Islam terjebak kerana dia dikatakan halal. Ini yang bahayanya.
Prof, is that not, that one is doubly or triply wrong because you use the name Islam. No? You Islamize something on the fake teacher's contract, but you sell it as halal, rather than orang
before you answer that, you can answer my question as well. The problem is that the advisors, the so-called advisors right from the Bank Negara and all, they come like this, they're more holier than thou. I really wouldn't be able to argue with them to a certain extent, because they come with all the necessary ayats lah, whatever, and then kita dah argue pun from a logic point of view, from a logical Islamic standpoint, I agree with you, but they have all their dalils and all that sort of stuff, they have all their, I'm sure you know what it is, kan? So how has this been made possible? I know this is a different conversation totally dah, but how has that been made possible? Because some of them are.
I think one of the factors is probably they don't understand the big picture of the industry itself. They probably do not know the outcome of the system, how the suffering of the poor and the weak in the society. They don't really realize it. And
we got institution there. We got professors. We got Ph.D. Sepa.
Well,
we got URA.
Okay. Dia ada dua jawapan lah. Satu jawapan yang dikata sangka baik. So sangka baik saya, kenapa? Kerana dia tak faham, dia tak boleh nak kaitkan antara sistem yang dia terjebak tu, yang dia terlibat tu dengan masalah masyarakat. Dia tak boleh kaitkan. Dia tak nampak. For example, ramai tak tahu, ramai bankers including Islamic banker, dia tak tahu bank tu bukan intermediary. Dia ingat bank tu duduk tengah-tengah sebagai intermediary. Dia ingat orang simpan duit, bank bagi pinjam duit kat orang. Sebenarnya bank create new money every time dia create loan. So itu tak nampak. Jadi bila bank create new money, what happens is that a lot of money is being created all the time, and therefore you have a lot of debts and the value of money also goes down. Itu dia tak nampak tu. Dia tak nampak dia punya kaitan antara the massive growth of loans tu and the danger of when you have a society with a lot of loans, a lot of debt, dia tak nampak danger tu. Dan ada kaitan antara debt, when you create all this debt, huge amount of debt ni, you are creating new money all the time. So the value of money goes down. That's why the price of property goes up like crazy kan. Actually, kan rumah sekarang ni harga dekat 1 juta lebih, because of that lah, because the bank can create money from thin air. So dia tak nampak that how the system works. Okay, itu sangka baik lah. Yang kurang baik punya sangka ialah they can make money from it. They profit from it. Right? You benefit from the system. Why do you want to undermine a system that can bring you a lot of benefit?
No, dia tak argue macam tu. Dia kata dengan having that system, I'm creating more employment. By having that employment, they can have more children going to school, they can feed their families, you know.
That's what, kalau kita tengok sekarang ni kan, orang bunuh diri, orang kadar kemiskinan. You tahu tak sekarang ni, kalau kita tengok kadar kemiskinan dalam masyarakat sekarang ni, I did my calculation last time, you must earn more than 2,600 per month in order to be above poverty level. Okay, dekat KL. Kalau you earn below 2,600, you're going to be poor. Jadi sekarang ini, kalau kita pakai calculation tu, how many percent of our society is poor? More than 30% of our society actually dalam kategori kemiskinan. Kerajaan dulu, dia tak pakai calculation tu, dia pakai absolute poverty line, which is if you earn below 980 ringgit, then you become poor. So sebab tu Malaysia punya poverty rate dulu almost zero, less than 1%, because sebab tak ada orang lah yang gaji dia below 1,000. Tapi kalau you duduk dekat PJ, kalau gaji you 1,000, you tak boleh hidup pun sebenarnya kan. Tapi dia buat tak tahu je, dia nak tunjuk statistik bagus. Sebab tu World Bank expert datang sini, dia kata this is nonsense, dia kata kan. Dia suruh recalculate back our poverty calculation. Jadi dia suruh pakai what is called relative poverty calculation. Jadi sekarang ni ramai orang masyarakat miskin. Betul. Jadi kenapa selepas kita bermerdeka dan kita memajukan ekonomi kita, lebih ramai orang miskin ni, macam mana boleh jadi macam ni? Ini dia tak boleh nak kaitkan. Dia tak boleh nak kaitkan antara sistem dengan realiti yang berlaku di luar. Dia bila dibincang pasal kemiskinan, dia tak nampak hubungan antara kemiskinan dengan sistem kewangan yang kita ada sekarang ni. Ramai orang tak dapat kaitkan. Itu yang sangka baik lah. Yang saya sebut tadi, yang keduanya, yang satu lagi lah, bila you dapat, kalau you are advisor to bank, you percentage of the contract. If the contract is 1 billion, you get a percentage of that because you structure the Islamic contract. How much can you get? How much are you going to get? Right? You are going to get a lot of money, right? Because every time you have a contract, you have to draw up in the millions. So why would you want to criticize an industry that can bring you millions?
Dia tak cakap macam tu. Dia buat benda tu untuk the ummah, so the greater ummah can benefit from that, rather than they don't have alternative system. So okay, tak apa Prof, I
leave you tag to the comment on that one.
Okay Prof, I bagi Azam, I think a good friend ni, Prof, how can we uphold Islamic social finance? How can we get out of banking system and uphold the I suppose through Islamic social finance lah.
I think as we mentioned, as we discussed just now, it goes back to our value system. You cannot have any system you want, social finance, it must be based on the right Islamic values. When you have the right Islamic values, it's very easy, insha Allah, to get things going. Of course, you're on the right track lah. I'm not saying it's going to be overnight. It will take time because a lot of people are in debt, for example. If they are in debt, nothing much we can do about them. They are already very deep in debt. They are going to suffer. A lot of people are already inside that situation, though. So if you ask me how we're going to help them, I don't have any ideas on how to help those people who are already deep in debt. Okay, what I can do is to help young people. So what I do is I work with young people. I tell them, for example, my children, I say, you make sure that whatever you do, you work hard, but make sure that you avoid the threat. So which is very easy actually. There are only two big tickets, for example. One is the house, and the other is car. So if you don't buy a house, you are not going to be in debt. If you don't, and you can still stay, you need only a place to stay. And if you need a transport, you don't have to buy a car also. You can go buy Grab car, or you can buy a second-hand car. You can save some money and you can avoid that. Okay, what about business? I say you can go for crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is you can get people to invest your projects. Now IT technology makes it very easy for people to access projects kan. We can have, I know about projects in other countries. There are crowdfunding platforms that you can get involved in. People from other countries can put their money in Malaysia to fund your projects, to be invested in your project. Of course, you need credible intermediaries lah. That's why people like that maybe can contribute. You can be intermediary, but people who wants to come, they I know of a company called Etis. I don't know whether you have heard of it, Etis. So you can trust them. They will study a project and then you can invest through them. Profit and loss arrangement. You are not lending money, you are investing through them, through this crowdfunding platform. So we can do this for businesses. And then for people who are in trouble, it's so easy nowadays. Recently in my area, there was one family kan yang 8 orang anak yatim. Because IT technology, people send WhatsApp, dia dah dapat bantuan dia dah. Tak payah pinjam dari bank. So kalau you susah, orang boleh bantu senangnya sekarang ni. It's very easy. So nak bantu orang pun senang. Nak dapat business project, funding pun senang. Tapi janganlah kita nak ada macam Tony Fernandez punya skill, nak pergi ke bom besar. Kita modest scale lah kan. We scale down and then insyaAllah we can harness that IT technology that we have now in order to get the economies of the Muslim Ummah going without having to go through the finance industry. So just now I do not know whether I answered the issue of social finance or not, but that is how I say just now. Is that now the basic thing is actually the values of people. It doesn't mean that people are going to be lazy. They are going to be very hardworking, but they are hardworking for the right reason. They are hardworking for the right reason. They are hardworking in order to get money, in order to help others, right? So not in order to be able to show off their wealth. So people think that I'm against development. No, we are against the system that is wrong. But people our society can, just like the Muslim society of the past, they were very dynamic, but they were dynamic in the right way, avoiding all the haram things that Allah says they shouldn't get involved in. So that's what we want to build in our society, insyaAllah.
Mungkin dia orang kata you go back to the 7th century Saudi Arabia. I mean, whatever Taliban. So Azam, basically, Prof cakap tadi, one way of social finance is going towards fintech, crowdfunding. I think bawah yang the famous one is ATIS. Bukan ATIS, I think ETHIS.
ETHIS.
I think it's for fintech. So I've tried to get him last time during our IFL to get him on board and to share his basically his journey on this fintech stuff on crowdfunding. But he didn't really respond. That's okay. Tab, probably you can conclude the whole meeting. Prof, thank you very much. Before you go on, over to you, Tab. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof. Really interesting conversation. I think we ran over time, but those who are still there are still there. It's great to be able to have this kind of conversation, especially with my classmate, and we sort of grew up in the same model, and to be able to see life and what the world is right now and the way it is, especially in COVID, and to think what would happen post-COVID is very interesting. And I tend to think that, as discussed, maybe Allah Ta'ala is trying to show us what is the right way. But nevertheless, life is just but a test, kan? It's testing us. So apa yang kita boleh buat, apa kita boleh educate, what we can do to show what is right. We might not be able to change the world at the end, but at least we put it in the right direction. We inspire the future leaders to do the right thing. And I tend to think that what Prof is doing in terms trying to teach the younger people that of the right values is something that we all should be doing. I think there's the education portion in what we're doing, even in Malay College, for instance. We should start having this kind of conversations with the Budak College now, so that they understand what is a true value, who are the true leaders, who are the true heroes, who should they emulate themselves to be, as compared to the false leaders, if you look at it that way. Yeah? I think the conversation that we've had about Islamic banking or riba-based banking, and kebanyakannya sama. In that sense, it's just there used to be a word called greening. Azam used the word the akad. So I tend to think that again, there was some people say at least we want better off. Question whether we are actually better off. I think there's still a lot of room for Islamic financing in terms of what you said, Jajang artistry. It's more like venture capital and those sort of things are the right values of Islam, in where Rasulullah and Sallallahu and how he got the money from his wife and how he created those businesses, and those are very good examples of how people do this. Of course, the things have changed over time. It doesn't mean that we have to follow. Doesn't mean that we have to be the leaders that we are. We need to show that good example. And I think, Prof, you're definitely an icon in this field. I know it's very hard to convince a lot of people. Budak batch kita pun dah susah nak convince, let alone other people. Okay, so but let's do this. Let's do this together. I think that's the only way, by understanding. And by slowly giving that
okay.
Thank you so much for sharing your time and your thoughts,
Okay.
your passion. I think more importantly.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prestep, for concluding our session today. Just that my own personal remark before you go off. I think the title supposed to be tukar sikit. It's a bit misleading in the sense that COVID-19 or what. We just focus probably on the banking system. Probably might be interesting. I mean, just to get the whole conversation, really to where we are supposed to be going. Tak apa, and for those watching, thank you very much. Thank you both of you. Bye. Assalamualaikum.